I feel like I'm off because you're not here.
I know, it feels weird.
I'm like, oh, I don't like it. It's going to be like this after the baby though for a little while.
I know. And Haven is not sleeping. She's been waking up one time at night. She's like going through a phase where she's scared of like her bathroom and like making sure the door is closed, and like she wakes up like one time during the night and I have to go in there and be like, it's okay. And she lets me leave, but then I'm like it's already hard enough to fall asleep. And so when she wakes me up,
it's hard to, that's really tough.
But I was like, well, I guess I need to prepare anyway.
That's what I was about to say. It's just the universe helping you to prepare.
Yeah. Like she's been sleeping through the night for like 3.5 years and.
Oh my gosh. He's preparing you for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Havy. Okay. Let's make this big. And we're recording this, and there's no like stuff here. I've got my wall and the light, and there's no like microphones and things. Okay, we're ready.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alissa and Katy, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths.
Hi, Alissa.
Are we recording?
Recording.
Okay, good.
This
Normally
is the deal.
It tells me. Oh, I see. I see.
Is it? Well, it's been recording the whole time, so I won't.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right.
Make sure Jay edits our small talk.
We'll edit all the small talk right out of that, Jazz.
Okay.
Hello, Alissa.
Here we are back on Zoom for a little while.
Back on Zoom. Jay said, make sure you tell them you're on Zoom because I don't want them to be fussing about the sound quality. And I'm like, I will tell them that we are on Zoom.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay.
It's going to be fine. This is episode number 82, and it is, as I like to call it, the problem with perfection.
Oh, yes. It is problematic.
It's super problematic, and it runs rampant in all types of people, but a lot of realtors. And so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you doing? Do we want to tell people? I mean, so this episode comes out on my birthday week.
Yay. Happy birthday.
Yeah. So first week of March, we're recording this pretty far in advance because we are preparing for baby who will have likely arrived, right?
Yeah, by the time this airs, I should have a baby in my arms.
A second child.
Yes.
You've got that one already.
Yes.
Oh, it's exciting times. Are you nervous? Are you excited?
I'm starting to get physically uncomfortable, which is making me more ready.
Ready. That's what happens at the end. They prepare you. The whole system is set up for you to be like, get this baby out of here.
Yes, Jay wanted me to sit on my floor in my closet to record the episode for the sake of sound quality. And I said, no. I can't do it.
I know. I'm sure that people will forgive us some poor sound quality so that you could be comfortable and we can get this thing done.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So what would you like to start off saying about perfection?
So I think this is funny because I was with my mom.
Okay.
And they were looking at their photos on their phone, and like several of them have like tens of thousands of photos on their phone.
Yeah.
And I am I want them off of my phone, and I have albums in Shutterfly where I put them by year. So like whatever year, they just all go in one folder.
Right.
And then at the end, I make a book each year. So I have a book of all the photos I've ever taken going back to 2011.
Wow.
And we were talking about that, and they were like, we want to do that, but the problem is like I've done all this research and I can't find the book that I like, the quality of the book and this and that. And we had this big discussion on how wanting the book to be perfect led to no book at all.
No book
ever. Yeah. Like you thought you were going to make a book every year or a baby book or whatever. And because you were like over researching and couldn't commit because, it wasn't exactly what you had envisioned, you have nothing. And not only do you have nothing, but it's kind of like a lot of chaos is what you have.
Right. And now you've waited so long to get it done that it's hard to go back in time. So
Yes.
it's just building up. It's building up.
So it was funny because we had that discussion this week.
what perfect timing.
Yes. And so I'm helping them.
Oh,
and
you are.
We're doing like a photo revamp.
I love it.
But because some of them were so far gone, we decided anything before 2020, we're not even going to tackle.
Okay.
We're just going to have one folder where if it was before 2020, all the photos are going into this folder just for the sake of getting them off your phone.
Okay. I like it.
And then we're just going to sort through 2020, which is just what we had to do. Is it perfect? No. In a perfect world, would we have like hours and hours and hours to sift through all the photos and sort them? But it would just drive you crazy. And we talked about doing this perfectionist episode, and I was like, I have to share that story because I know it's not a real estate example.
No, but it's the example of what happens in everything you try to do in your life. I have literally done this before. One year, my New Year's resolution was get the photos in order and put them and upload them every month. On the first of the month, I would upload the last month into the Shutterfly, and then they would be there and it would be good. And it lasted for a few years, and then I fell off the wagon somehow, and now I just have
a few years.
Yeah, it did. It was going really well for a while. And then I just stopped. I don't know. I probably had that second kid, and then it all went out.
We'll see how it goes this year.
You're right. Well, you're right. You better get all that stuff done now. It's just, it takes so much time to put a system in place. And if that's the part where people get tripped up, I think they're wanting to perfect the system. Mm-hmm. Just start with a system. Like I almost want to call this episode my favorite quote, which is done is better than perfect, because just get it done. Just get something on paper. Just get something moving. Like just start somewhere and then take one step. It's just like building a big habit by doing little things. Don't say, the big thing first. Start with, I'll drink 2 extra glasses of water a day, or I'll do, it's build up. But I think we want to set it up to be like, I have the perfect notebook and the perfect set of pens, and I'm going to work on this planner this year. This year, I'm going to do the planner. Like, it's March by now. So I want all the people listening who started off in January with their fancy new planner that have already thrown it out the window, or their fancy new resolution that they gave up on January 17th. Raise your hand, nod your head, say, it's me. I said I was going to do it, and I had to be perfect. And when I wasn't perfect, I gave it up.
Yep.
And then go back and reinstate just something. You can pick that planner back up in March. Mm-hmm. But you don't need fancy pens. And I'm going to tell you the secret. We've talked about this before. Pencils are the secret to solving perfectionism. Yeah. I have an entire, I will even show it because I have it out. I will show YouTube my fancy notebook. So much of why the podcast exists, why things are in my life now, or because I have this notebook where I write down ideas. And do you know what they're written in? Pencil. Do you know why? Because I couldn't dare mess up this fancy, cute notebook with me writing in pen and then deciding it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So I started writing in pencil, and I don't ever erase it, but I have the option to erase it, and it makes me write things down.
Gotcha.
I don't know why that works, but it works for my perfectionist part of my brain.
Yeah. When I was new, I think the thing that I wasted the most time on, well, there's 2 things really. The first one was my website.
Yes.
You could get so sucked into all of that stuff and tweaking and moving. And, when I was new, I thought the website was like the most important thing in the world because it's,
right.
2010. And if you don't have a website, you're out of business and
you're going to fail.
When I tell you days, hours, and then I didn't even use it. I just gave up.
Yep.
But the thing that really was a huge issue for me mentally to wrap my brain around was my database. I wanted this perfect system that did everything I wanted it to do. Right. And I, at the time, didn't have my Excel spreadsheet. So I was just manually, I found the first one. I had done research and thought, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
and started inputting people. And soon realized like it's not the one because it yells at me and it's too much and it does alerts and this and that. So I stopped inputting people into it and I found a different one.
Right.
And I tried that one. And I went through, I would say 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And finally was like, I have got to stop typing all these names and email addresses
Into another system.
There has to be a better way. So I noticed that some of them would let you upload from an Excel. So that's when I said, I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to put everybody in Excel.
So you had it for the next one.
Yeah. So the next one, I don't have to manually input all these people. I can just upload it to the system.
Mm-hmm.
And then by doing that, Excel just became I ended up doing that, I think 2 more times after my Excel spreadsheet was like, oh, this CRM sounds magical.
Right.
And if you're in any kind of realtor group, you see them constantly.
All the time.
CRM, what are you using? What do you like? What do you don't like? How much is it? Blah, blah, blah. Does it do this? Does it do that? And I mean, it's a big problem in our industry because it's like there is no perfect CRM because we're all different.
Yeah.
And after so many times, I've had my Excel spreadsheet for, I guess, 8 years now.
Right.
And I haven't used a CRM.
I literally answer this CRM question no less than 2 times a week.
Yes.
What CRM do you use? What do you like? Or I see it in a group. I mean, at least twice a week. And it's the funniest question when you answer it and say, I just have a spreadsheet and now the Trello where at least I've got some sort of tracking going on, but that's all I need. And then I always want to follow up with how many transactions do you do? Like there's got to be a level where I understand that the volume is making it difficult for you to keep up, but it's not 24 to transactions. Like let's just say 24 and your average agent is doing 12. I think that if you do 1 transaction a month, you should hopefully be able to figure out how to follow up with your database, how to do your transaction management and sort through. I think the problem with CRM and wanting it to do everything is that a lot of people just don't understand that it requires work no matter what the system is. The system requires you to do work. It's not going to be perfect no matter what you choose. It's not going to do everything you want it to do. And we give up following up with our database instead of just doing it imperfectly. So instead of just saying, well, I'm going to try, or I'm going to, and I'll be the first to admit I've given up lots of things that I thought I'll give this a go. And then I couldn't get through it, like the birthday cards or, so it's hard to figure out what works, but it's easier if you start stripping away. So like when you pick something simpler, it's just easier to implement. And then it doesn't have to be complicated.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are some other things that you find that realtors get hung up with being perfect on?
Social media posts.
Oh, for sure.
I don't struggle here too much because I don't do a lot of posting.
Right.
But I have talked to people that like they want it to look a certain way, colors and filters and the squares being a certain way. And so I know that's something that can be, and I actually went through like about a 3-week phase where I was like, I'm going to do this. And I didn't. I was like, this is hard. It's really hard.
If you remove what the overall look is and just remember that the actual production of content is the important part, then it gets a lot easier. But would you say you're a visual person?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I'm a visual person paired with serious perfectionist tendencies. Like my wing one is pretty serious. And that's where I have the trouble, because I look at it and I think, oh, I want my colors to be pretty like so-and-so's colors, or I want my feed to look like well thought out like so-and-so's feed. And then I'm like, it's a constant battle. It's not something I have recovered from. I'm still like, just put it on there. It doesn't need to be a big deal. I will tell you one of the easiest ways to overcome that is go onto Canva and create 4 templates and just keep using those. It's not that difficult. Like you have that very nice template for when you have a listing or sold with the different colored line and the black and white photo and then the series of photos behind it. It is nice branding when you're repetitive. It doesn't have to be perfectly done to be good branding. It just has to be consistent and repetitive for it to be good branding. So, and I think your post is lovely. I'm not saying it's not, but we all, especially if you're visual and especially if you have perfectionist tendencies, we get caught up in that. And do you know why I think we get caught up in that?
Why?
We think that other people actually look at our feed and care, but nobody actually cares. Nobody comes to my feed and says, I'm not going to follow her anymore because her posts aren't perfectly branded, or that picture was the wrong color scheme for the rest of the pictures. Nobody cares except for you. And it's just being self-important to think my feed needs to look the best so that people will come and see. Now, my side to that would be, I do think being professional is good. And I'm not saying that you should just, not try, but maybe put less pressure on yourself.
So I was reading this interesting article about perfectionists versus high achievers.
Okay.
And they tend to think that they're the same thing, but they're not.
Okay.
Like people think high achievers are perfectionists, like, oh, well, she just has to like do it all and do this. But it's really actually quite the opposite. So I took a little excerpt from it, but it says, perfectionists actually achieve less than high achievers because they have an unhealthy attitude. Their focus on perfection robs them of motivation and can actually bring on procrastination and other self-defeating behaviors. So letting go of perfectionist attitudes can actually help you achieve more.
Do they tell us how to do that?
Yes.
Great, because that's what we need.
Okay, I'll help you. Okay,
and I agree with what you have just said. Fully 100%. Because when I just say, I don't have time for this, but I'm going to do it anyway, that's when I have the most success. When I'm like, I don't have time for this to be perfect, but I feel this pressure to do it and I just do it, then it's fine.
Right.
Okay, tell us what we can do.
If you're just starting this self-awareness journey and analyzing your perfectionism, there is a number one question you're supposed to ask yourself.
Ooh, what is it?
First question to start this journey is, what is perfectionism costing you? So some examples would be, well, I don't have a database because I keep waiting for the perfect thing. Or I haven't handwritten my letters because I haven't made the perfect stationery. I haven't done anything on my social media because I don't have like the perfect look or website. I haven't started my Trello because I can't decide like if I want the buyer to be blue or purple. It's
that bad.
I know it is. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Like I am that way with my Trello sometimes. Like if it gets too cluttered or I'm like, I hate yellow now. It's like, no, but I would have to change everything.
Everyone.
I would have to change all of those people and it's too much. And so, but the question is, you have to figure out like, where is it causing problems?
Okay.
That could also be like in your home as well.
Hello, friends. We are so excited that so many of you are using the template course and the reviews are just pouring in, letting us know that it has helped your business as much as it has helped our business.
Yes, listen to this review. Thank you so much for providing this wealth of information, knowledge in template form. So far, I've used a handful and received positive feedback like, this is so professional, or I really appreciate how organized you are. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah,
your clients are actually going to say that.
Yes.
All right, here's another one. Thank you so much for this. I can't tell you how many times I've started this and how many notebooks of samples and notes I had. I have ADHD and it is super hard to stay focused on getting it done. Having it all in one place is going to make it so nice.
That is what we're here for.
I know, just look, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just use these.
Yeah, nice and simple, easy, ready to go, ready for you to put your own logo on, make it sound like you. So head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/course and check it out.
That's right.
And you're going to enjoy them. You're going to love them.
You're going to
change your life.
Literally fired my assistant. They are the best. Okay,
enjoy the template.
Yes, enjoy.
So like if you're not doing something because you're like, well, I won't be able to finish the whole thing.
Yes.
Or I won't be able to make it perfect how I want it to be.
Right.
So you just don't do it at all. So you really need to take some evaluation to say, what is my perfectionism costing you? Because up until this point, usually people don't think perfectionism is a bad thing because our intentions are good.
Mm-hmm.
Our intentions are, well, I'm not doing it unless it's done right, which is honorable and all those things. But at some point we have to realize that it has, consequences, and we have to acknowledge those consequences in order to make progress and overcome this mental hurdle.
Okay.
So once you have evaluated what is it costing you, one of the first things that you have to do is pick the first thing that is like bothering you the most. And I'm just going to use database because it's a relatable one. The problem is that you're seeing the whole project instead of it just being tasks. So step one would be setting little goals.
Okay.
Like maybe saying this week, I'm going to import everybody A through C. And with that, I'm also going to A through C, as I'm inputting them, maybe I'll handwrite them a letter, A through C. Like really focus on your A through C people. And then at the same time, if you want, you could go through your phone and your contacts and do A through C and make sure that if they are no longer contacts that you need, they're deleted. If you do need them, make sure they're in your database appropriately. Maybe send some text messages saying, hey, is this still your email address? Just doing like a good job on A through C.
Right.
And if you need to give that a week, or if you need to give that 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. But you cannot say, I'm going to do this today, A through Z.
Right.
Because as you make the little accomplishments, you will begin to enjoy it.
Yes.
So enjoying it is actually step 2.
I like it.
You have to be able to say like, oh my gosh, I have been wanting to clean out my database for 2 years, or start a database for 2 years. And today I put 5 people in. I'm starting.
It's there. It exists. It exists.
Yes. Kind of like my friends, like they were very like, I don't think I can do this photo clean out. And then one of them texted me that they deleted 1,000 screenshots off their phone that they had just been collecting.
Right.
And it took forever, but they were excited, they still have a long way to go, but it felt good to just clean at least out. You're starting to overcome the mental block.
Yeah. It's just like cleaning out your refrigerator. There's nothing better than throwing all that stuff away, and it takes 5 minutes.
Yep.
5 minutes.
Wonderful.
Okay. I would like to point out, if you have a database and you're using this method to maybe go back and contact people, so you're like, this week I'm going to do A through C. Here's where I fall victim to messing. It's like you fall off the wagon, and every time you go back to it, you start at A through C. Then your A through C's hear from you a lot, and your, XYZs never have ever heard from you. So maybe week 1, you do start at the back of the alphabet. Yes. Or start ABC, and then the next week is XYZ, and like we go back and forth until we meet in the middle of the alphabet, or start in the middle of the alphabet. But also, there are 26 letters in the alphabet. That is literally exactly half the weeks of the year. If you just put 1 letter per week in 6 months, you would have contacted your whole database. You would have gotten, your whole database set up and, correct. You would have done all these things that Alissa is telling you to do. Just 1 letter a week in 6 months, you'd be done. And I mean, obviously when you get to X, you might not have anyone that week. Maybe you celebrate progress, or you do something else, or skip ahead to the next one if you want, so you keep your momentum. But in 6 months, if you had talked to your whole database, that would be better than probably you've ever done in a whole year.
That's awesome. That's a good point.
So it can be really, really small, like really small.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else of note from this, how we deal with it?
Yes, we have to be able to handle criticism. So here's the thing. People love to make excuses, and they want to argue with you before they're moving into acceptance.
Okay.
So if they have not yet, if you have not yet moved into acceptance of your perfectionism actually causing you to be a procrastinator, you're going to say things like, well, I'm going to do it at this time, or I'm waiting until this database is released in March, or I'm waiting until Christmas time, or I can't do it because of that. If you are making excuses and if you are arguing the point, you have not really evaluated what it has costed you. And you have to be able to be self-aware before you can make any progress. So criticism is not fun.
No.
And then the last thing was altering your self-talk, because you can't say like, the problem is people say, I'm going to start drinking a gallon of water a day.
Right.
Well, if you haven't really been drinking water, a gallon of water a day is really hard to do. Yeah. Kind of like how you said earlier, like adding 2 cups of water a day. You really have to alter these the bigger the promise that you make to yourself, it literally does something in your brain chemically that makes you excited and you see this new vision of yourself. But that makes the crash and the failure so much harder.
Yeah.
And what happens is you stop trusting yourself. You're like, I'm never going to do this. Like, this is just my life. I'm never going to get in shape. I'm never going to have a system in place for my business. I'm never going to be able to keep up with my laundry. I'm never going to, because I keep promising myself that I'm going to do all these things. And it's kind of like if somebody else kept promising you something.
Yeah.
And they kept lying to you and lying to you and lying to you. Eventually you just have no expectations and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so altering your self-talk and that just goes back to breaking habits. It's a bad habit. We all have bad habits. We all have things we say to ourselves that aren't true.
Right.
But it does lead to low self-esteem, and will only make procrastination and progress. It's just not going to be good. Not a good combo.
No, not a good combo. I would say I do the self-talk because, I'm a big fan of a nice affirmation, a mantra, whatever you want to call it. But when I say done is better than perfect in my own head all of the time. And the other one that I really, really like that is just, it will really set you on the right path is progress over perfection.
Yeah.
Just some progress it doesn't have to be a lot, but if you're making some progress, if you're doing one thing, it will build on each other and you'll just get in the habit of doing.
Maybe that should be our episode title.
Progress over perfection. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just so important to just do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you said earlier, a lot of perfectionists are self-aware. And I think they know that is the problem, but they don't know how to combat it. So really, if you're just repeating these things to yourself, if you know that you're working, I'm going to work on a project. I'm going to make a flyer for my new listing today. I'm going on Canva. And if you set a timer for 20 minutes and you can't figure out how to make a flyer because it's not perfect, then you need to say to yourself, done is better than perfect, progress over perfection. Like, this has to get done. Because I think a lot of perfectionists would just then not have a flyer for the house. Like, they would just be like, well, I don't have to have a flyer, so I just won't do it. But that's where you would want to, I guess, utilize that information.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. I also wrote another quote that I thought was really, really good.
Okay.
It was, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. So you can always still be working towards that, and that was Vince Lombardi. So that's, football. But I mean,
well, I definitely went through a phase where I was really second guessing like how good I actually was at being an agent. Like, I knew I had the sales and I knew I had the numbers, but I did have other people telling me, but you don't do agent tours and your open house doesn't have balloons and like you're not, it just seemed like there was so many things that I was not doing.
Right.
And it really made me think, am I being a disservice to my clients? And I had to do some real self-evaluating. And I think even like the first time I ever had an assistant, I wanted them to like do some of these things. And I just realized that some extra fluff is like nice here and there, but not necessary. And it also opened me up to be more relational because I had the time to be. I had time to talk to my clients and to have relationships with them because I wasn't always planning an event or always planning a big party or doing this big marketing promo or making a video or, it allowed me to build the relationships, which kept the referrals coming. And then, the marketing was working just fine, and but
it was getting the job done.
Yeah. Yeah. And my clients were happy. So I think it's okay to say, like, what can I cut out if this is really important to me over here? What could I sacrifice? Maybe it won't be as like flashy on social media, but I think it would make a big difference in my income or my business.
Right. I also think we've both received this feedback from our clients or other agents or people in our life. I've often been told that I'm very approachable. And I don't think that perfectionism is super approachable. So if I show up in the perfect outfit with the perfect hair and my perfect makeup in my shiny, freshly washed, perfect car, and my client who's at this, let's just call them a first-time buyer, and they're at this house, they're feeling a little nervous about the process. They're not sure like what to do or what to say or how it works. And the whole thing is overwhelming. And then I roll up looking like, selling sunset. And they're just like, maybe we don't want to do this. Maybe, we're not prepared. Like being perfect isn't approachable to other people because they can't relate to you. So if you show up with the perfect, there's nothing wrong with having good materials and professional flyers or a well-done listing presentation. But my folder that's not perfectly branded and every logo on every page and all the same colors works just as well. And no one has ever fussed because I showed up and my vendor list didn't have color-coded, it's an Excel doc that's black and white with no logo at all. It says my name at the top. It actually says Katie's vendor list. End of the story. And they get so excited. Oh my gosh, this is so helpful, because at the end of the day, they don't care what the resources look like or what you look like. What they need is the service you provide and the information that you're able to give them.
Right. And if you're not giving them anything because it doesn't look pretty, then you probably aren't getting the referrals.
Well, you actually are providing less value to your clients.
Yeah.
So they don't even know what value you have because you've locked it up inside, worried about what the paper looks like.
Not to go backwards, but I was thinking about what you said in the beginning about how, people want the system to be perfect, but you still have to work.
Yes.
And I think we shared an episode or two ago when I was cleaning out the prospects column of my Trello and realized that there was people on there that I had set up on like a subdivision report, and maybe I had checked in with them occasionally, but they did end up listing with somebody else, and I saw it in MLS. And again, these were people I didn't really know that well. But the problem is, I was not working my system.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, oh, well, it's written down, so it's there, which is nice. But I think that was a very good point to make, that nothing is going to be perfect. Trello was never going to say, hey, this person is going to list with someone else in
tomorrow. Right. Yeah. You better get on this, Alissa.
Right. It's like sometimes things happen, and I could have, and in my brain thought, maybe Trello's not working for me.
Right.
Maybe I need to reinvent the whole wheel, find a whole new system.
You need a new CRM.
I need a new CRM. I have failed. I've lost this. I really had a moment where I thought, that's like 6 listings I just lost,
Yeah.
It was a kick in the gut, but then I had to just calm down and be like, no, Alissa, this isn't the imperfection of the system.
Right.
This was all me. This was me not picking up the phone and doing what I'm supposed to do on that part of my business.
Right.
And it only encouraged me to like pick up the phone more and do what I'm supposed to do and use the system how it's supposed to be used.
Right.
But the times that I have struggled the most with perfectionism for me is when I'm being too systematic or too efficient or too organized. Like whenever I was new and had folders and folders and folders and folders in my email, and things were just everywhere, because I thought it had to be really organized in order for me to be successful. And it made for a really rough first couple years because everything was it was all too much, So I think going back to perfectionism, keeping things simple is so important because it'll help in every area.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we overcomplicate everything.
Yes.
I don't know why that is. I also want to point out when you talk about your follow-up and having to work and missing those listings, I think we also forget to give ourselves grace. We think that we have to be perfect on our follow-up and that we failed. And so we really beat ourselves up when we lose the 6 listings or we didn't follow up the way we know we should. You're still just human. And if you were busy enough in your business that you're using other systems and you're doing as much as you can for efficiency and you couldn't follow up perfectly with every single person, I mean, like sometimes it's just the way the cookie crumbles, that you're only one person. And if there's this is my other thing. Why don't agents ever talk about what their max transaction limit is? Nobody ever says, Katy, being a solo agent who likes that setup, cannot handle more than 40 transactions. That's where that really is my hard limit, where it's going to affect my life outside of work. It's going to affect my work life. It's going to affect my ability to use my systems. It's just going to make it too hard. It's plenty enough income, and that's really where it stops. It's going to make it so all of my listings still get the same treatment. All the buyers get the same experience. Everyone gets all their email templates sent out to them when they're supposed to. But no one ever says, hey, it's okay if 12's your max. Like if that's where the buck stops for you, that's fine. Or why does it have to, and that's just the whole more, we've always got to build more. What is your goal for next year? But I think it's very difficult to keep up with your systems if you're above your capacity.
I do think episode number 2, culture of the real estate industry, would be a great follow-up to re-listen to after this episode.
Yeah.
Because it kind of talks about where this all even originates from. Why are we this way, especially in our industry?
Yeah.
An industry where people preach perfection, post perfection, flaws are not really talked about. Mistakes made are not really talked about. And so I just think it's a good one to go listen to if you haven't in a while.
I do too. I agree. You have any other things about perfection you'd like to share with us?
That was all on my notes.
I love it. And if you guys haven't yet done your Enneagram and you'd like to learn if you're a perfectionist at heart, you could take your Enneagram test. And if you're a number 1, that's the story. But so many people, it really is, when I listen to Gary Vee, he talks about this a lot. It really is directly correlated to how much other people's judgment affects you or the feeling that people are judging you, or it's not about just you and wanting to be perfect and, being regimented it's really the fear is the perception of other people. And I think I'm here to tell you that nobody cares what color your brand is.
That you say that because I'm not an Enneagram 1 and I don't have a 1 wing. I'm the 3, which is the achiever.
Yeah, you should be like.
But my thing is, it's not that I care that much about being perfect, but I do want people to perceive that I am doing it all well.
That's what's fueling it.
Oh, she's a high achiever, so she's just doing everything perfectly. And to be honest, and you can ask my assistant because she knows, like I make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I have to fix mistakes. And sometimes because I'm almost moving too quickly, instead of maybe doing things a little better, because I do want things done.
Yeah.
I could use a little bit of refinery in my systems and in some of my things. I found that's why I found that article so interesting, because I think before this episode, if you would have said like, are you a perfectionist? I would have said, yeah. But then I think if anybody that knows me would have heard me say that, they would have like laughed.
Right.
Because I'm just really, really not.
Because you're getting far too much done to be a perfectionist. I'm telling you right now.
Right. But at some point you kind of do need to slow down and say, hey, where can we like clean up a little bit and just make this, like now that the systems are there and they're working, is there anything that just could maybe look a little bit better where, we could tweak things? And so this was a good episode for me too, because it really did go to show that, being a high achiever and perfectionism is not hand in hand like most people think that it is.
Yeah. And there's probably a nice level of balance there somewhere where you can use both of those things to better your business and yourself, or you can let them derail you completely.
Yes.
I love it. Okay. So we've learned something today.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to talk through that. Perfectionism, it really does plague a lot of us. So you have our support. Today, go out there and remember to say done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect never gets done. Did you know there's a second part to that?
Oh, I love it. Perfect never gets done.
I Googled the quote and a bunch of them, it was like half and half, but it said, what's the first part?
Done is better than perfect.
Yes. So that it either said just that, or it said done is better than perfect because perfect never gets done.
That's exactly right.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Are you ready for a toast?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I did see while I was going to get the toast, here's another good quote for a parting quote. Perfection is an illusion based on our own perception.
We set that bar.
We totally do. Okay. Here we go. Today's toast comes to us from Cynthia Ramirez. Cynthia is in West Texas, Midland to be exact. And she would like to toast to Stephanie McSwain of Fathom Realty.
Beautiful.
So cheers to Stephanie, and thank you to Stephanie. Why? No, she didn't say why. So she might have to, you're like waiting for more. She wanted to toast her. I mean, like she's just like cheers to Stephanie.
Great. I think that's lovely.
It's a lovely. She could shoot us an email and follow up with what exactly, but I'm sure Stephanie is a beard to laugh.
Perfect.
What an amazing job over there. Okay, so cheers to Cynthia and Stephanie, and you guys go out there and just make stuff happen.
Yay.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.